Welcome back, YouTube, to episode 5 of dismantling this pop-up camper. I got all the camper down to the bare frame, and now it's time to clean up the frame to get ready to do further work. My first step on this was to remove all of the excess wires, and there were plenty of frayed wires and wrapped around wires around all over the frame. They all had to be cut and cleaned. They weren't going to be reused anyway. I intend to put the springs on top of the axle to lift the trailer, but I wanted to ensure that the axle was a straight axle or whether it was a bowed axle, because a bowed axle, you can't just flip it. The bowed axle provides camber on the tires where the top part of the tire is tilted out. This helps the trailer track behind the tow vehicle better. Well, as it turns out, my axle is bowed. It has a crown at the top. What that's going to mean is I'm going to have to weld some new spring perches on top of the axle in order to put the axle underneath the spring. After verification of the axle, I began cleaning off all the cut bolts that were sticking out of the top of the frame. These bolts are not going to be reused as well, and with the little nubs sticking out, they will cut you up pretty bad. So in the interest of future safety, I spent the time to go ahead and grind them all down. As you can see, I'm wearing safety glasses and I have gloves on protecting my hands as well. Next, I decided to cut the rear bumper off. It was bent on the passenger side, so I used a Sawzall to cut both of the brackets off. It'll be replaced with a tube bumper, and the tube bumper will allow for a little bit of storage in the back of it as well. Once the brackets were cut off and the bumper was removed, then I used my grinder to smooth off the welds that are on the frame. Then I used my air gun and unscrewed the bolts for the springs and the spring hangers. This enabled me to drop the axle down and slide it out from underneath the trailer. At the tongue, there was lots of little things that needed to be removed. This was an accessory swing down jack that was installed by a previous owner, and it may be reusable. I don't know that we're going to use it, but it's in good shape. Then I tried to remove the original jack. It was rusted and all 3 of the bolts snapped off, which was okay with me, that they're not going to be reused anyway. Then it became time to remove the propane cylinder bracket. There are just 2 bolts holding it on. And next I removed the bolt that was holding on the safety chains. This was the first time I had encountered that. I guess that's normal to bolt the safety chains on. I've always seen them welded on, so it was kind of a surprise to see them bolted on like that. The bolt was difficult to get to and rusted, and it made it a pretty good challenge. Next, I removed the propane gas line from the front of the frame and then removed all the metal line inside of the frame. Now, before I could remove the metal line, I had to remove the ground strap that was attached from the frame to the metal line. Then I continued pulling off all the extra electrical wires that were run down the side of the frame. These are wires that go to the inside of the pop-up trailer, and they're also wires for the lights on the outside of the pop-up trailer. Also, when you're removing these wires and these hoses from the frame, you may come across a rubber grommet in some of the holes. So we're going to need to move the frame rail and both sets of spring hangers. We're also going to have to move the springs on the axles. Also, since the coupler is old and rusty, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out and replace it with a new 2-inch ball coupler. I'm still waiting for the wheels, tires, the new coupling, and all the spring brackets to get all the welding done. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Next time we should be cutting some metal. See you soon, YouTube.